So I'm Dot Negropontis, and I'm here with Bruce Scully from Scully Consulting, and we are working on a project for Alberta Education, Alberta Agriculture and Rural Development, and Alberta Municipalities. So these three ministries have come together to fund a project called The Impact of Schools on Rural Communities. And it's certainly a topic near and dear to our hearts, and having looked at your wall of change, the Board of Education, the curiosity, sticky ideas, and what's becoming clearer, I think it's also a topic that's near and dear to many of the people that are attending this conference. So last night when we came in, I'm dropping cords here, we listened to Rex Murphy last night, and I was captured by his juxtapositioning of fishing and farming, and I thought that was very true. I was down in the Maritimes at one of the maritime museums, and I was looking at the implements and all of the trades of fishing, and I was reminded very much of the museums and the displays of the implements from the early 1900s of farming, and I thought, my gosh, it's that same kind of feeling of an era and of a time when people really lived close to the land. I thought what was interesting about what he spoke about was that farming and fishing, elusive and the highest pitch of human achievement. I love that, the idea that it's hard to define what being rural is, a rural way of life. He talked about both of them as being generational, an inherited set of skills, character building. And certainly as we've gone out to do our research out in the field, we've certainly heard that same kind of conversation, those same kinds of words from the stakeholders that we've interviewed. He talked about the fact that both maritime and rural communities have their own particular code of social behavior, their own wisdom and their lore, and certainly their own language and sense of humor. I come from a farm background, attended lots of brandings and times when farmers and ranchers gather, and certainly the sense of humor that you hear there might not be applicable to an urban setting, perhaps. He talked about the collapse of the cod fishery, and it wasn't just an economic collapse, but that it impacted the life pulse of Newfoundland. And I think in Alberta, when we think about rural depopulation or the changing rural population, because some areas are growing, from the small family farm to a larger family farm or a corporate farm to acreage or cottage living to rural retirement communities centered around lakes, or the growing First Nation reserve population and the number of students that are wanting to choose schools off reserve. And plus immigration groups that are coming, the Low German-speaking Mennonites who have revitalized some of the communities in rural Alberta. So there's lots of changes, lots of things going on. On the wall, we noticed when Bruce and I took a look at that, there were several comments on the wall that speak to understanding rural life and rural education and helping other people, policymakers, urban dwellers, to understand and respect the rural way of life and to share with them how important it is for us to educate our children within our rural communities. So our study aims to provide some rich descriptive data of some rural schools, capturing a moment in time and the impact these schools have on their communities. Bruce and I bring pretty extensive experience in working in rural education. I worked with Schnucks Edge School Division for 31 years from teacher to assistant superintendent, and Bruce has done a lot of work in rural areas, both in education and also with municipalities. So our hope with this study is that we will deepen the understanding of rural education and how they impact their communities. And we've tried hard in the study to gather all the voices, not just of the usual suspects, the superintendent and the board and the trustees and principal and teachers, but also and making sure we listen to parents, to the students, and to the community members and to municipal governance folks, so the officials and also the elected officials, because the important thing with this study, it is the impact of schools on rural communities, so we need all those voices. So I'm going to turn it over to Bruce, and he's going to describe for you the process of the study, and then I'll talk to you a little bit about our literature review, and then also phase 1 of the study, what we've done so far.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for coming to this session. I see that we've got a pretty nice number of people. Sometimes we have trouble attracting people to sessions on research because we're criticized because these sessions are long and boring. Well, I can assure you that this one's not going to be long. It's only going to be about an hour. So, Dot's given you a little bit of a background into the study. The study is actually something that's in progress right now. It's a 2-year study, and we're just finishing year 1. So we thought we would come to the conference and give you just a bit of an update on what we're doing and what we found out so far. And it's been a very, very fascinating project to be involved in. And I know as we talk about it, it'll be something that resonates near and dear to your heart as well, being rural educators and rural school administrators. Now, Dot, don't start to get nervous down there because I've got your speaking notes up here, if you're looking for those. Okay. So the research questions that this study is aiming to look at is to really try to understand the overriding challenges and opportunities and impacts that schools have in rural communities. And as you know, really there's an integration in rural communities. The school is a part of that fabric. And so what we want to do is we want to explore that, we want to define it, we want to find out what are the processes and the factors that make that work very, very well, or in other cases, make it not work as well as it could be. To find out really what helps sustain rural schools and communities, and what are some of the factors that work against them. So we want to look at models, we want to look at what people are doing in rural communities that seems to be working. We want to see and understand the role that a community has in the revitalization of a rural community, and look at the partnerships and so on that exist in rural communities. One of the first challenges when we took on this project was, well, how do we define a rural school and a rural community? And of course, that doesn't sound like a big challenge, but as researchers, we always want to put definitions around things so that we know exactly what we're talking about and how we can extrapolate our results. So this is really a definition of how we define a rural school. So it's small enrollment, typically 150 or less. Sparsely populated area, so a low population density, away from the influence of metro population areas. So not on the Q corridor per se, and not near other corridors. Usually the school is located in a hamlet or a village or a town with less than 1,000 people. And so we understand that, of course, there are many boards in the province that have rural schools and also urban schools. So our first job was to identify those boards that have those rural schools according to that definition that I showed you. So it also how we define the study. Now, I guess what exactly are we doing? All good researchers, especially ones from an academic background, usually start research by looking at the research that's already been done. Fancy words for that is a literature review. So the idea is there is to understand what other people have found out about the relationship between communities and rural schools. So we can find out what's already been done. We can learn what some of the trends and findings are. We can incorporate that into our study. We can go to places that our research questions already haven't been answered and looked at, and enrich the total sort of body of knowledge around this particular topic. So we did a literature review. That's been completed. We also identified, as I said, the rural boards that we consider to be rural, and we came up with 60 or so boards in the province, around 36 were what we narrowed down to. Once we identified those 36, then Dot point, we have completed 3 school case studies, and we have 3 remaining. So that will share some of the observations from the literature review and some of those as well. So in terms of the time frame, I'm almost finished, so if you really know that, we'll be up here in a minute or so. We've completed the literature review. We've identified who we believe the rural boards are, and we've identified who our case study schools are. We've selected our case study schools. We selected the case study schools so that we can represent Alberta's geography, culture, all the various aspects that you would hope to represent if you were doing a study like this in Alberta. So all of our schools are from the south, but all of them are from the east or the west. They span quite a bit of the province of those 6 schools, and in terms of school types as well. So the case studies are in progress. The report from the study, the draft is going to be in November. It's going to be completed in November, and the final is going to be in February of 2017, so early 2017. So we look forward to carrying on with that study. It's been extremely interesting, and I hope that you all will have access to the report when it's completed. So I think you'll find it very interesting and relevant. Thank you. I'll turn it back over to Bob.
your research on rural education in communities. U.S. has done a bit of research. Oftentimes, schools just appear kind of as a footnote in these studies, and it often focuses on other kinds of services in rural communities. The studies address economic development, they address school closure, lots of studies around school closure and consolidations, and student leadership and policy, particularly in rural schools. It's in some ways the same of the study. Rural issues and economies and the unique characteristics of rural schools. So there are some studies out there. But very few studies have implications for the issue of how schools impact the rural community, and that's kind of the difference. And I think because Alberta municipalities, Alberta agriculture are actually the funders of this project, that's why we see a difference for this particular project, that it's not just a concern of education now, it's also a concern of the other ministries that address issues in rural Alberta. So, in terms of economic impacts or issues, some studies indicate having a school gives your community a competitive advantage over communities without schools. That seems common sense. Young families will choose your community, attract business, and raise property values, and there's better municipal infrastructure in some of these communities. Now, school jurisdiction may be the major employer in the area, and we certainly heard that as we traveled the province and talked to some of these communities. And that has a multiplier effect for the community. For example, there was a study in Saskatchewan on the impacts of the public sector spending in rural Saskatchewan for teachers and people who work for school divisions are considered part of the public sector. They found that for every public service job, generated indirect employment of another 0.39 jobs. So for every teacher employed in a small community or hamlet or village could generate another 0.39 jobs. The employment earnings of public sector workers or teachers has an economic multiplier effect of 0.0434, which is significant. So for every dollar of public sector spending, public sector earnings, every dollar that teachers earn or support staff earn has another effect of 44 cents in spending in terms of the community. So there is an actual economic benefit to having schools in communities. So in terms of social and cultural, some studies indicate where there are schools, there's an increased sense of well-being, and they are gathering places, and we know that in our rural communities that is often a place, and sometimes the only place where the community gathers. In terms of growth of social capital, the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD, defines social capital as networks together with shared norms, values, understandings that facilitate cooperation with and among groups. So that's what social capital is. Much of the research supporting connections to social capital in rural schools is based on observing the negative impact of school closure on a rural community. So what happens when there's a loss of social capital in rural communities when a school closes? So again, a study in Saskatchewan, rural Saskatchewan, said there was a decreased sense of residents' sense of community, and there was a decline in civil engagement. And so, it's confusing, but here's our evidence again, that if school closes, then people have less of that sense of community, and they tend to pull back from, say, a Lions Club or the local ed facility. So you see less volunteerism, you see less community recreation participation, less intergenerational relationships, because the school is often a place where grandparents and children come together. So there was another study in the same rural community, or a second study that researcher did, that also found that the school closures decreased a sense of community and instilled fear amongst residents who do not have school-age children. So looking just at people in the community, grandparents or people who live in the community but don't have children, there was a greater sense of fear about the future, their role in the community, and how they could live with this. multipliers, but also in terms of human capital. So human capital is about skills and education that allows people to provide meaningful interactions, teaching, instruction, leadership in the community outside their employment. So oftentimes you see people, teachers also serving on, say, the town council or being engaged in some of the recreation clubs. Also, so that also speaks to their contribution to the civic culture of the community through volunteering and through involvement in public affairs and issues such as being community groups, being part of the local drama group or the local community orchestra. The last piece of research that we looked at was that rural schools also play a significant role in sustaining rural culture, heritage, and lifestyle that supports the agricultural industry. And so we did find one study that spoke to that, and it was a study out of the U.S. in Montana. And they talked about Montana's small frontier schools that estimate impact that many participants identified. They felt that their rural schools have played a significant role in sustaining that rural culture and what's affecting the fabric of society. And so as we've been talking, we've been having conversations about, what does it mean to have rural schools? What does that mean to the fabric of Canada as a community and as a society? Does it matter if we don't have rural schools? What does that say about Canada? So that's a bit of a review in terms of the economic impact and the social and cultural impact. So phase one of the study was talking to superintendents, and that was very interesting getting a chance to talk with the superintendents. I would tell them that we would talk for an hour, and they would have to go in for 45 minutes, an hour, and I told them we'd talk for half an hour, we'd go on for 45 minutes, an hour, and it was very interesting. They had a lot to tell me about their jurisdictions and their schools, and particularly their small rural schools. So what they wanted to do was to explore the small schools under 150 and their viability in truly rural areas, so not near the metro areas like Edmonton, Calgary, Vancouver, Lethbridge. So we wanted to move away from the larger areas. We also looked at student enrollment as an increase or decrease in student enrollment as an indicator of a thriving school that may be struggling a bit, or also schools that are closed. And so we looked over a 5-year time period of enrollment to sort of see the trends. And that helped us identify schools that can provide us with some rich data. And so those are the schools, when we phoned the superintendents, we didn't talk to them about every one of those schools. We talked to them about maybe 3 or 5 of those schools that fit those categories of either a closed school, a thriving school, or a school that was maybe struggling a bit. The interviews with the superintendents really helped us hone our interview questions for case studies as well, and helped to make sure that we were really focusing on the impact of the school in the rural community and weren't getting where that might let us go. The only thing that I think was important in talking with the superintendents was that definition of viability. And, the dictionary definition of viability is capable of working successfully, feasible. And we have to think purely in economic terms. And certainly as we talk with the superintendents, we came to the understanding that a school may not always be economically viable in terms of student enrollment, people-teacher grant, but there are other concerns and other issues and other factors beyond the economics that impact viability. And so these are some of the factors that we have listed there and that we spoke about with the superintendents, and we're exploring further with the case studies. So geographic location. So superintendents talked to us about these schools being their proximity to other schools, whether they were close also to a reserve school, whether they were in recreation areas, how big their catchment area was, how long the bus drive was, and so that geographic location, if they were located near a lake, and that the opportunities in terms of moving a summer village into a more talked about, that shift in world population. They talked a lot about the changing demographics, particularly around immigration, when groups like those speaking Inuit immigrants come to the community and what that means to the community. And we talked about the different trends. And it's different around the province. The impacts are very different. We talked about community involvement and collective responsibility. Community cooperation between the municipal governments, the school board, community champions, and growing the community together. Rural community development. We talked some talked about how important those relationships were. Some talked about how difficult those relationships were. But was, again, the range there of how closely community champions and municipal governments also work with school boards around schools. We talked about grade configuration, the difficulties of moving from double grades to triple grades, and the implications there, and how sometimes that can have an impact. That's the place where parents decide, okay, I'm going to drive this child to another school if I'm going to triple grading. So there are those difficulties of moving from single grade to double grade to triple grade. The difficulties of a small high school. And so when I talked to the superintendent, I said, we're going to focus on schools around 150. They said, what about the small high school? The small high school of 100, or the small high school of 160, or, or the small high school of 175, and you don't have that in the study. And I said, so what we have done is we've included two K-12 schools that are small. We've also included schools that are post-reserve, schools that aren't post-reserve. So we have a real variety of that as well. That was our concern, that they really wanted to make sure we understood that the pressures of a small high school is very different than the pressures of a small K-6. We talked about programming and how that can affect school viability in terms of shared programming, shared principles, shared technology, shared resources with other schools, and also share maybe facilities with the municipality, sharing the costs of that. So there's lots around programming. The other thing, and we didn't put up as a bullet there, but as I was reviewing the notes before coming out, I was talking about, and that's leadership. They talked a great deal about leadership with us, and how having that strong principal who's a champion for the rural community is so important, and having that consistent leadership from teachers over time and principals over time, very important. But they also talked about the leadership from the school division and the decisions that they make around whether to decentralize budgets or centralize budgets and what that means, and the impact of how they look at their funding. They talked about the leadership of other principals in their jurisdiction in some of the larger schools, and how they support or maybe don't support smaller rural schools, and how important it is for them to pull everyone together to work together. about the students that are incredibly resilient. The one school that they have gone to, we're looking at 2 school communities that one school has closed, and in the one school community that we've been to visit already, I will say that the students have really been, I would say, a help to the adults that have really struggled with the closure of the school in terms of how they've dealt with it. So it's interesting how the community has come together to move forward and create community in a different place. So that's kind of an interesting process. We've also gone to a community that came up with just a great solution. They have 2 small schools that are struggling. They did some great reconfigurations, and now they've got 2 schools that are actually doing very well and they're strengthening. So that was quite exciting to see how they work through the issue. And then we went to another school where I've never seen such great champions. They have some really interesting ideas, and they have a committee that the school principal and teachers sit on with the county councillor and the CAO of the village and other community members, the exercise and the board. And they have a committee that the whole community works on to make sure that their school is viable. And we're working really hard on it. We have some really good things to say. The difficult piece of this is that we're not really sharing the actual names of the schools and the communities because, and I know everybody's like, oh, what about it? The hard part about it is, as you well know, these kinds of things can be very, very sensitive, particularly when you're talking about school closure. It's a very, very painful process for people, and so we wanted to respect people's privacy in that, and so they've been very open in sharing their stories with us. So we have given students to the communities and to the schools. I mean, they're going to know who they are because they'll be able to see their communities card. But I think what you'll see is 6 very representative stories of schools from across the province, because we've seen in our first blush, looking at all of these schools, we've seen some of the elements that are in our 6 across the province. So I think we'll be able to share some good stories. And I'm really hoping we'll answer some of the concerns and some of what's becoming clear over there about the fact that we need to tell our story better about what's good about rural schools and rural communities, and we need to articulate that to people in government and people in urban centres, so they understand that rural schools and rural communities are an important part of the fabric of Canada and certainly Alberta. So that is our goal. So we were thinking what we'd like to do is pick your brains a little bit. That's all right with you. And we have some extra sticky notes that will borrow from the table that we can redistribute. We can't use the pink ones because pink ones are for later when you're doing your thing. So I've got some here, and I have a question that I'd like you to consider. And if you'd like to jot down some answers onto the sticky notes, that would be great. But you can have some table talk, and then maybe we'll have some people report back some of the thoughts that you've had around this. And then also hear questions about the study, so we can do that. But before we get into questions, the question that I'd like to ask you is, what is the role of the school in rural community development or revitalization? Very often we wonder how the community can help the school. I'd like to start that and ask you, what is the role of the school in rural community development or revitalization? I'll give you about 5 minutes to have a chat about this. I'm going to call you back together again, and I'd just like to hear from some of the tables, if I can, any thoughts you have around the school, the role of the school in terms of rural community development, the impact of the school on the community. So, any thoughts? Yes.
When we when we look at schools and the role of how important it is to the community, we just reopened Nordegg School this year, and it was a vital piece of the regrowth of that community. And it was so important to them. They looked at all the pieces they needed to build their community. They had a lot of young families, and the young families were all leaving when their kids hit 4 or 5 because we didn't have school. And when you look at Nordegg to Rocky Mountain House, you're looking at an hour on the bus for a 5-year-old. And I know that's not unheard of around the province, but it was a tough one. It was a vital piece when you looked at the whole community. They were looking at how do we bring in health services, and they had emergency services, and there was a big fire out there, and that they needed to make sure there was health in the community. They needed to make sure there was emergency services, and their next big piece was education. And how do we thrive as a community without a school and a hub? And we started to talk about some of our other rural communities where the school is
Yes, Brian told me about Nordegg. That's very exciting. I'm glad to hear that it did open. That's great. That's really exciting. Another thought? Thank you. That's been apparent in other places that we've spoken, and that's actually cited in the research as well, the well-being of the elderly. Absolutely. Any other comments? Any other impacts? Really making you do your running there. And we're seeing that in some of the schools that we visited, that there are one community we went to, there's a rural development office in the school, and they hold meetings there, and they're very proud of it, rightly so. And it's also, they've got access to the SuperNet, and so they have a few businesses that are actually using the facility a little bit, so that helps bring people together as well. Yes. Yep, oh, that's excellent. Yeah, because I did say rural community, but yeah, that's a very good question. And when we've been out in the schools, one of the things that we want to make clear is that we recognize that the students and the teachers are also part of that rural community. And the rural community is, the Lions Club, the rec group, the municipal leaders, that is rural community. So yeah, that definition of community. And then, and of course we know this in rural communities, there's the rural community of perhaps your village or your hamlet, and then there's the rural community of the farmers surrounding it, and then there's the rural community of your county, and then there's the rural community of your jurisdiction. So yeah, community gets very complicated, doesn't it? Yeah, for sure. Yes. These lights are really bright. Thank you. Any other thoughts? I think you've got a good bet there. There's some of the communities that we've been going to, that's exactly what's happening. Some of the young families are returning to family farms or to family acreages, and because of connectivity now, some of them are able to do business from afar. They can live wherever they like and do business, so there's some of that. We talked to one mom who's, they've relocated back close to where grandparents are, and the husband does go, to the city to work and kind of comes home on weekends, which is not ideal. But some people are making some very conscious choices of choosing a rural lifestyle because that's what they grew up with and that's what they want their children to have. And certainly the connectivity that we have in Alberta with the SuperNet and access to that through the schools is a strength that we have that perhaps other rural communities don't have in other places. Yeah. Okay. Any just going, gone? Very good. All righty. Well, I just want to thank you for giving us some time. I hope we get invited back next year to give you the results of the study and share the stories of the case studies with you. I think one of the things, as I said, about research, sometimes when you read research, you think, well, gee, I could have written that, I know that. But what the research does is we mine through the data, we look for the things that keep surfacing, the issues and the things that keep surfacing, so that we can provide you with the evidence that you need to go forward with. And so hopefully the research will highlight the broad impacts that schools have on communities and inform the work on rural education sustainability and continue the process of refreshing Alberta's research on rural education. We're thrilled to be doing this study, and we're looking forward to continuing our journey tomorrow, actually, to a community. So that'll be great, and we wish you the very best, and very impressed with your symposium and the quality of the work that we see happening here. Thank you.